Captain asked his daughter to choose a new mother among the officers, but she chose the recruit. Captain Michael Johnson was desperate. 2 years had passed since he lost his wife, and his 5-year-old daughter Emma remained completely silent, communicating only through gestures and sad looks that broke his heart. That's when he made a decision that would leave everyone at the San Diego Army base stunned. He gathered his 5 most qualified officers and announced that Emma would choose who would be her new mother. "You are all exemplary women, and I trust each of you," said Michael, observing the surprised expressions of the officers. "But I want my daughter to feel comfortable with whoever will care for her." Colonel Catherine Miller, Emma's godmother and Michael's secret admirer for years, smiled discreetly. At 52, she had always imagined that one day he would see her as more than just a friend and fellow officer. The other officers exchanged nervous glances, all aware of the importance of this moment. Emma entered the meeting room holding her father's hand. Her brown hair was tied in 2 pigtails, and she wore a simple beige dress. Her big, expressive eyes scanned each face in the room, but she showed no interest. "Emma, sweetheart, Daddy wants you to choose who will take care of you," said Michael, kneeling beside her. "It can be any of these lovely ladies." The little girl looked at each officer for a few seconds. Colonel Catherine stepped forward with a warm smile. "Hi, little one. Remember Aunt Kathy? We always play together at the base barbecues." Emma nodded, but gave no sign of choosing her. One by one, the other officers introduced themselves, offering toys and sweets they had brought especially for the occasion. But the girl remained unmoved. That's when Jessica Williams passed by the hallway, pushing a cleaning cart. The 23-year-old had enlisted as a recruit just 2 weeks ago, coming from rural California. Her blonde hair was tied in a ponytail, and she wore the simple work uniform, a far cry from the officer's elegant attire. Emma let go of her father's hand and ran to the door. "Hey, Emma, come back here," called Michael, but the girl was already in the hallway. Jessica had her back turned, organizing cleaning supplies, when she felt someone tug her shirt. She turned and found Emma's big eyes staring at her with an intensity that left her speechless. "Hi, little one," said Jessica, crouching to her level. "Are you lost?" Emma pointed at Jessica, and then at herself, making a gesture that seemed to say, "Together." The recruit didn't understand at first, but Michael came running. "Emma, what are you doing?" he asked awkwardly. "Sorry, Private. What was your name again?" "Jessica Williams, sir. Recruit Jessica." "Sorry for the trouble, Recruit. My daughter slipped out of the meeting." But Emma clung to Jessica's leg and pointed decisively at her, looking at her father with a determined expression he hadn't seen in years. "This can't be," Michael murmured. The officers appeared at the meeting room door, watching the scene in disbelief. Colonel Catherine felt her stomach drop when she realized what was happening. "Emma, honey, she's just a recruit," Michael said, trying to be gentle but firm. "She barely just got here. The aunties in there are officers. They know how to take care of you." Emma shook her head vigorously and held on to Jessica even tighter. For the first time in 2 years, the girl made a sound, a small cry of protest when her father tried to pull her away. Jessica was completely lost. She came from a humble family in Bakersfield and had enlisted in the army as a last hope to get a job that would allow her to support her sick parents and her younger sister with special needs. The last thing she expected was to find herself in the middle of such a delicate situation. "Sir, I think there's been a mistake," said Jessica, embarrassed. "I don't even know your daughter. Maybe she's confusing me with someone else." "Emma is very smart. She knows what she wants," said Colonel Catherine, stepping forward with a forced smile. "But this is just a childish whim, isn't it, Michael?" Captain Johnson looked at his daughter, who now held Jessica's hand and seemed calmer than she had been in months. Something about the situation bothered him, but he couldn't quite place it. "Private Williams," said Michael, making an impulsive decision. "Do you have experience with children?" "I do, sir. I took care of my younger sister since she was little. She has autism and—" "Perfect," Michael interrupted. "I'll give you a 1-week trial. You'll take care of Emma during the day while I'm on duty. If she really wants this, we'll see if it works." The officers exchanged surprised glances. Colonel Catherine forced a smile, but her eyes showed irritation. "Michael, are you sure? An untrained recruit?" "1 week, Catherine. Just a test." Jessica wanted to protest, to explain she wasn't prepared for such responsibility, but Emma squeezed her hand and looked at her with so much hope that the words caught in her throat. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The first days were a real challenge for Jessica. Emma still didn't speak, communicating only through gestures and facial expressions. The recruit had to balance caring for the girl with her military duties, which seemed to have increased significantly since Colonel Catherine learned of her new role. Private Williams, after taking the child to lunch, I want you to clean the entire women's barracks, ordered the colonel on Monday. Private Williams, the outdoor area needs to be swept before 1500 hours, came the order on Tuesday. Private Williams, the second-floor bathrooms are filthy, arrived on Wednesday. Jessica knew she was being tested beyond reason, but she didn't dare complain. She came from a reality where working 16-hour days to support her family was normal. What bothered her was seeing Emma watching everything with her big, intelligent eyes, as if she understood something was wrong. During free moments, Jessica discovered Emma loved to draw. The girl made colorful scribbles that seemed meaningless, but always included 3 figures, a big one, a medium one, and a small one, always the 3 of them together. Is this your family? Jessica asked on Thursday, pointing to one of the drawings. Emma nodded and pointed to the small figure, then to herself. Ah. She pointed to the big figure, and then toward her father's office. When she pointed to the medium figure, she looked straight at Jessica. The recruit's heart ached. How could such a little girl carry so much loneliness? Emma, you know I'm not your mum, right? Jessica said gently. Your mommy is in heaven, and your daddy is trying to find someone to take care of you. The girl shook her head vigorously and pointed at Jessica again. Then she made a gesture the recruit took a moment to understand. She brought her hands to her chest and then stretched them toward Jessica, as if offering her heart. It was in that moment Jessica began to remember something about those eyes, that little face. On Friday, Captain Michael decided to observe how the trial was going. He hid behind the mess hall door and saw something that completely surprised him. Emma was sitting next to Jessica, eating her lunch normally, something she hadn't done properly in months. Even more impressive, the girl was smiling. A small but genuine smile while Jessica animatedly told her some story, gesturing wildly. And then the little bunny said to the turtle, "It doesn't matter how slow you go, what matters is that you never stop," Jessica said, mimicking the characters' voices. Emma let out a little giggle, the first sound of joy Michael had heard from her since his wife's funeral. He felt his eyes well up and had to step away before anyone saw him. Later that day, Michael called Jessica into his office. "Private Williams, I need to speak with you." Jessica entered the room with impeccable military posture, but was clearly nervous. "Sir, if I did something wrong..." "Quite the opposite," Michael said, gesturing for her to sit. "My daughter is showing progress I haven't seen in 2 years. I want to understand how you managed that." Jessica hesitated before answering. "Sir, can I speak openly?" "Of course." Emma doesn't speak because she's afraid of getting attached to someone and losing them again. I recognize the signs because my sister went through something similar when our grandparents passed. Michael leaned forward, intrigued. "Go on." "Kids who've been through trauma like that need to feel safe before they open up. Emma is testing me, seeing if I'll stay or leave like..." Jessica stopped, realizing she was saying too much. "Like her mother," Michael finished, his voice thick. "Is that what you mean?" "I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean..." "No, you're right. Sarah left very suddenly. Emma never understood why her mother just disappeared from her life." They sat in silence for a moment, each lost in thought. "Private Williams, can I ask why you enlisted? A girl like you could find work elsewhere." Jessica looked down. "My mother has cancer, sir. My dad lost his job during the pandemic and never got back on his feet. My sister needs special treatments. The army offered stability and a way to help my family." Michael felt a tightness in his chest. This young woman was sacrificing her youth to care for the people she loved, just as he was trying to care for Emma. "And how is your family's situation now?" "Better, sir. With my pay, we can afford my mom's medicine and my sister's treatment. It's not much, but it's enough." Just then, Emma appeared at the office door. She had slipped away from Colonel Catherine, who had been watching her. "Emma, how did you—" Michael stood but froze when he saw his daughter's expression. The girl ran to Jessica and curled up in her lap. Then she looked at her father, and for the first time in 2 years, spoke a word. "Stay." Michael's legs nearly gave out. It was the first word Emma had spoken since her mother's funeral. "What did you say, sweetheart?" he asked, kneeling beside the chair. Emma looked into her father's eyes and repeated, clearer this time, "Stay. Jess, stay." Jessica's eyes filled with tears, unsure how to react. "Emma, honey, Jess is a soldier here. She can't—" "Stay," Emma repeated more firmly. "Jess, stay with me." Michael looked at Jessica, who was visibly moved. I don't know what to say," the recruit whispered. That's when Colonel Catherine appeared at the door, breathless. "Michael, I'm sorry. Emma ran off and—" She stopped when she saw the scene. "What's going on?" "Emma spoke," Michael said, still in disbelief. "She asked Jessica to stay." The colonel's face hardened for a split second before she recomposed her expression. "How wonderful," she said, forcing a smile. "But perhaps it's best not to get our hopes up too high. Children change their minds easily." Emma looked at the colonel with an expression that seemed wiser than her 5 years. "I won't change my mind," the little girl said, surprising everyone once again. "Jess is my mom now." The silence that followed was deafening. Michael didn't know how to handle that statement. Jessica was flushed with embarrassment, and Colonel Catherine struggled to maintain her composure. "Emma, sweetheart, things don't work that way," Michael said gently. "Jess has her own family, her own life. And I have a right to a family too," Emma declared with a clarity that left everyone stunned. That weekend, Michael couldn't get his daughter's words out of his head. For the first time in 2 years, Emma had shown real determination, had expressed her feelings, and all because of a recruit she barely knew. Or did she? On Monday, Michael called Jessica in again. "Private Williams, I need you to be honest with me. Did you and Emma meet before she chose you?" Jessica visibly tensed. "Sir, it's a simple question. Yes or no?" "It's complicated, sir." "Explain." Jessica took a deep breath before speaking. "About 2 years ago, I was volunteering at San Diego Memorial Hospital. I sang for the children while their families visited other patients. My mother was undergoing chemotherapy at the time." Michael's stomach turned to ice. "Go on." "One day, a little girl was sitting in the waiting room, crying uncontrollably. She was with a man in a military uniform who looked desperate. The girl wouldn't stop sobbing, so I started singing to her." Tears began streaming down Michael's face. "What song did you sing?" "Rainbow Connection" by John Denver. The girl stopped crying and just stared at me. I sang the whole song and she even smiled a little before you were called into the room. Michael remembered that day perfectly. It was the last time he and Emma had visited Sarah in the hospital before she passed. Emma had cried inconsolably the entire visit, but when they left, she had been calmer. He had always wondered what had happened in the waiting room. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because I wasn't sure it was the same child, sir. And also because—" Jessica hesitated. "Because what?" "Because that day when I saw you going into the room, I overheard the doctors talking. They said the lady didn't have much time left. And I promised myself that if I ever saw that little girl again, I'd do everything to make her happy." Silence filled the office. Michael needed a few minutes to process the revelation. "Emma remembers you," he finally said. "It seems so, sir. And that's why she chose you." "I believe so." Michael was lost in thought for a long moment. "Private Williams, what do you really want in life?" The question caught Jessica off guard. "What do you mean, sir?" "If you could choose any future, what would it be?" Jessica thought for a moment. "I'd like to graduate, have a career that lets me take care of my family with dignity, and maybe, one day, have a family of my own. And Emma? Where does she fit into those plans? Sir, I care deeply for Emma, but I understand my position here is temporary. I'm prepared to... What if it wasn't temporary? Michael interrupted. Jessica looked at him, confused. Sir? What if I offered you the chance to study, become an officer, and at the same time take care of Emma? Would that interest you? Is that even possible? There are training programs for soldiers who show potential. You could study during the day and take care of Emma in the evenings and on weekends. Jessica felt her heart race. It was an opportunity she had never imagined possible. But why would you do this for me? Because my daughter is happy for the first time in 2 years, and because you've shown more dedication in 1 week than many soldiers do in years. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. However, not everyone at the base was happy with how things were unfolding. Colonel Catherine watched with growing concern the closeness between Michael, Emma, and Jessica. As Emma's godmother and a longtime friend of Michael's, she had always believed that one day he would see her as more than just a colleague. At 52, Catherine had dedicated her entire life to the army. She had given up relationships and the chance to have children of her own to build a solid career. Emma was like a daughter to her, and Michael had always been the man she secretly loved, even when he was married to Sarah. When Sarah left, Catherine thought her chance had finally come. She waited patiently for 2 years, caring for Emma whenever she could, being the support Michael needed. And now some random recruit showed up and threatened to destroy everything she had built. Catherine decided to dig deeper into Jessica's past. Using her connections, she accessed information about the recruit's family and discovered something she could use to her advantage. The Williams family owed over $50,000 in medical bills. Jessica's mother had undergone an experimental treatment not covered by insurance, and her father had taken out high-interest loans to pay for it. It was the opportunity Catherine needed. The following Thursday, she called Jessica in for a private conversation. "Private Williams, I need to speak with you about your situation with Emma." "Yes, ma'am. Is there a problem?" "Actually, yes. I've received some complaints about the time you've been spending with the child at the expense of your military duties." Jessica paled. "Ma'am, I always complete all my tasks. You can check my performance." "Your performance isn't the issue," Catherine said, sitting behind her desk. "The problem is the bigger picture. You're creating a dangerous emotional dependency in a traumatized child." "I don't understand, Ma'am." "Emma is becoming too attached to you. When you're eventually transferred or decide to leave the army, she'll suffer another abandonment trauma. Is that what you want?" The words hit Jessica like a punch to the gut. It was exactly what she had feared might happen. "I never thought of it that way," she admitted. "Well, you should have," Catherine said, softening her tone. "I know your intentions are good, but sometimes what seems like kindness can be cruelty." Jessica fell silent, processing the words. "Besides," Catherine continued, "I've heard your family is struggling financially." "How did you—" "I have access to certain information. $50,000 is a lot of money for a family like yours." Jessica felt her blood run cold. How did the colonel know about her family's debts? "I'd like to make you an offer," Catherine said, opening a drawer and pulling out an envelope. "This is enough to pay off all your family's debts and leave some for the future." "I don't understand." "It's simple. It's, you take this money, request a transfer to another state and disappear from Emma's life. It'll be better for her and for you." Jessica stared at the envelope as if it were a venomous snake. "Are you trying to bribe me?" "I'm trying to help 2 people who are hurting without realizing it. Emma needs stability, someone who won't leave, and you need to take care of your family." "What if I refuse?" Catherine's smile turned cold. "Then you'll have to watch your mother get worse because you couldn't afford her treatment. And in a few months you'll have to explain to Emma why you're leaving." Jessica felt the tears burn her eyes. It was an impossible situation. "Can I think about it?" "Of course, but don't take too long. Opportunities like this don't come around often. That night, Jessica couldn't sleep. She lay in her bunk, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the Colonel's offer. The money would solve all her family's problems. Her mother could get the proper treatment. Her father could pay off their debts. Her sister would get the care she needed. But it would mean abandoning Emma. The next morning, Jessica went to the room where Emma was sleeping and found the little girl drawing at her small table. It was the same drawing as always, 3 figures together. "Good morning, Princess," Jessica said, trying to hide the sadness in her voice. Emma looked up at her and smiled that heart-melting smile. "Jess sad?" the girl asked, noticing the melancholy on the recruit's face. "No, sweetheart. Jess is fine." But Emma was more perceptive than she seemed. She stood up and hugged Jessica's legs. "Jess not going away," the girl said as if it were an order. Jessica's heart shattered. How could she explain to a 5-year-old that sometimes adults had to make impossible choices? Throughout the day, Jessica watched Emma playing, laughing, being a normal child for the first time in 2 years. The girl was blossoming, finding her voice again. How could she be responsible for destroying that progress? But that night when she called home, reality hit hard. "Jess, your mother had a crisis yesterday," her father said, his voice weary. "We had to take her to the hospital. The doctors said she needs more chemo sessions, but our insurance won't cover it." "How much, Dad?" $15,000. It's money we don't have." Jessica closed her eyes. Life was forcing her hand. On Friday, she went to Colonel Catherine. "Ma'am, I accept your offer." Catherine smiled, but it was a joyless smile. "I knew you'd make the right choice. The money is here." Jessica took the envelope with trembling hands. "When should I leave?" "Monday would be ideal. I'll arrange your transfer to a base in Washington, D.C. "And Emma?" "Emma will be fine. Children are resilient." Jessica nodded, but her heart screamed that this was wrong. "Can I say goodbye to her?" "It's better not to make it harder. A clean break is easier for everyone." That weekend, Jessica fought against every instinct she had. She wanted to pick Emma up, explain she had to leave, promise she'd always love her. But Catherine's words echoed in her mind. A clean break is easier. On Monday morning, when Emma woke up, Jessica was already gone. "Where's Jess?" Emma asked her father during breakfast. Michael felt his stomach tighten. He'd only learned about Jessica's departure an hour earlier, when Colonel Catherine informed him of the emergency transfer. "Jess had to go away, sweetheart," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "When she coming back?" Michael didn't know how to answer. He looked at Catherine, who was present during breakfast. "She's not coming back, dear," Catherine said gently. "But you have Daddy and Aunt Kathy. You don't need anyone else." Emma dropped her glass of milk on the floor. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the mess hall. "I want Jess," the girl said, her voice trembling. "Emma, Jess had to go take care of her family," Michael explained. "But we'll take care of you." "No!" Emma screamed, startling everyone. "I want Jess." And then, for the first time in 2 weeks, Emma fell silent. The days that followed were hell for Michael. Emma stopped eating properly, stopped drawing, stopped smiling. It was as if all the progress of the past weeks had been erased at once. "This will pass," Catherine said. "She just needs time to adjust." But Michael wasn't so sure. He watched his daughter wither away each day and felt he'd made the wrong decision. By Thursday, Emma had developed a high fever. Michael took her to the military hospital where the doctors said there was nothing physically wrong with her. "It's emotional stress," the pediatrician explained. "Sometimes children manifest trauma through physical symptoms." As Emma slept in the hospital room, delirious with fever, she called out for Jessica. Jessica, come back." Michael couldn't take it anymore. He left the room and called the base in Washington, D.C. "I need to speak with Private Jessica Williams. It's an emergency." "Sir, we don't have a soldier by that name here." "What do you mean?" "She was transferred there this week." "Negative, sir. No transfers arrived this week." Michael hung up with his heart racing. Something was very wrong. He returned to San Diego, determined to uncover the truth. He found Catherine in her office. "Where's Jessica?" he asked bluntly. "I already told you, Michael. She was transferred." "I called Washington. She's not there." Catherine visibly tensed. There must have been a delay in the paperwork. "Catherine, where is Jessica?" Michael's tone was threatening. Catherine realized she couldn't deceive him much longer. "She requested a transfer, Michael. Said she couldn't handle the responsibility anymore." "That's a lie. Why would it be?" "Because I know Jessica. She'd never abandon Emma like this." Catherine sighed, seeing no way out. "Fine. I offered her a way out. Her family was struggling financially. I offered help in exchange for her stepping away." Michael felt rage explode inside him. "You did what?" "I did what was best for Emma. That girl was creating a dependency." "Where is she?" Michael shouted. "I don't know. She took the money and left. Could be anywhere." Michael stormed out of the office like a hurricane. He needed to find Jessica, but how? He didn't even know where she was from. Then he remembered their conversations. Bakersfield. She was from Bakersfield. Michael requested 2 days leave and drove to the small rural town. Finding the Williams family wasn't hard. In small towns, everyone knows everyone. The house was modest but clean and welcoming. Michael knocked and was greeted by a man around 50, visibly ill. "Are you Robert Williams?" "I am. How can I help you?" "I'm Captain Michael Johnson. I'm looking for your daughter Jessica." The man's expression darkened. "What did you military people do to my daughter?" "What do you mean?" "She came home Monday crying, with a suitcase of money, saying she could never go back to the base. Won't talk about what happened." Michael's chest tightened. "Can I speak with her?" "She's at the hospital. Our youngest is admitted, and Jessica won't leave her side." Robert gave him the hospital address, and Michael rushed there immediately. He found Jessica in the room of a girl about 8 years old, asleep and hooked to machines. Jessica sat by the bed, holding her sister's hand. When she saw Michael, her eyes filled with tears. "Captain Johnson, how did you find me?" "Doesn't matter. What matters is, Emma is sick and calling for you." Jessica closed her eyes, fighting for control. "I can't go back." "Why not?" Because it'll be worse for her if I keep appearing and disappearing from her life." The Colonel was right. The Colonel was wrong, Jessica. Emma is wasting away without you. "And my sister is alive because of me," said Jessica, pointing to the girl in the bed. "I used the money to pay for her treatment. The surgery she needed cost exactly $50,000. Michael looked at the girl in the bed and understood the magnitude of the sacrifice Jessica had made. "How is she?" "Better. The surgery was a success. She'll live a normal life." "And you? How are you?" Jessica sobbed. "Destroyed. I think about Emma every minute. I wish I were there, taking care of her, watching her grow, then go back. I can't. There's no place for me in the army anymore." "You have a place in my life, in Emma's life." Jessica looked at him confused. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying my daughter chose you, and I'm starting to understand why." Michael stepped closer and knelt beside Jessica's chair. "You saved my daughter, Jessica, not just this week, but 2 years ago at the hospital. You planted a seed of hope in her heart that blossomed when we reunited. Captain, Michael, call me Michael." Jessica wiped her tears. "Michael, I'm just a recruit. You're a captain, you have a career, a position, and you're a woman who gave up everything to care for the people you love. A woman who sacrificed her own happiness to save her sister. A woman who brought my daughter back to life." They fell silent for a moment, just looking at each other. "Come back with me," said Michael. "Not as a recruit, not as a nanny, but as my partner, as Emma's mother. And your family? What will they think of you being with a poor ex-recruit? The only family that matters to me is in a hospital room calling for you." Jessica glanced at her sister in the bed, then back at Michael. "And my family? I can't abandon them." "You don't have to. Bring them along. The base has civilian positions. Your father can work in maintenance. Your mother can get treatment at the military hospital. Your sister can attend the base school. You do that. I'd do anything to see Emma happy again, and to see you happy too." Jessica felt her heart race. It was a second chance she never thought possible. And Colonel Catherine? Leave Catherine to me. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. When Michael returned to the base with Jessica and the entire Williams family, Colonel Catherine felt her world crumble. She watched from her office window as Emma ran toward Jessica, who scooped her up and spun her in the air. It was impossible to deny the connection between them. Emma was radiant, talking non-stop, recounting everything that had happened in the last few days. Jessica laughed and cried at the same time, kissing the girl's face over and over. Catherine knocked on Michael's office door 2 hours later. "We need to talk." "Yes, we do," agreed Michael, not looking up from the paperwork he was filling out. "Michael, what you're doing is madness. You barely know this girl." "I know enough. She's almost 20 years younger than you, and you're almost 15 years older than me. What's the difference?" Catherine flushed. "The difference is, I have position, career, experience. And she has my daughter's heart," said Michael, finally looking at Catherine. "Catherine, you're an incredible woman. You've been my friend for years, an excellent professional, a wonderful godmother to Emma. But you're not what Emma needs, and you're not what I need." "And what do you need?" "Someone who makes me want to be a better man. Someone who sees Emma as a blessing, not a responsibility. Someone who has the courage to sacrifice their own happiness for others." Catherine felt the tears burning her eyes. "And what about me? What do I do with all these years of waiting?" Michael stood up and took her hands. "You find someone who loves you the way you deserve to be loved. Someone who sees you as their first choice, not their second. But Emma will always love you as her godmother. That will never change." Catherine nodded, knowing Michael was right, even if it hurt to admit it. "And what about what I did to Jessica? Will you report me?" Michael thought for a moment. "You'll transfer the money you gave her to an account I'll provide. It's for underprivileged children at the hospital where Jessica volunteered." "And that fixes everything?" "It does for me. Jessica is the one who decides whether to forgive you or not." In the months that followed, life at the base changed completely. The Williams family adapted quickly to military life. Robert found purpose working in maintenance, his wife got proper treatment for her cancer, and was responding well. Jessica's sister, Olivia, quickly became friends with Emma, and the two were inseparable. Jessica, meanwhile, was accepted into the officer training program, studying during the day and taking care of Emma at night. It was exhausting, but she had never been happier. Michael watched it all with a sense of fulfillment he hadn't felt in years. He saw Emma blossoming every day, returning to the cheerful child she was before the trauma. He saw Jessica transforming from an unsure young woman into a confident and determined one. And to his own surprise, he found himself falling in love. It hadn't been planned. At first, his focus was purely on Emma's well-being. But as the days passed, Michael caught himself watching Jessica when she wasn't looking. The way she smiled while playing with the kids, the determination with which she studied after Emma fell asleep, the kindness she showed everyone around her. One night, when Michael came home from work, he found Jessica in the living room studying with Emma asleep in her lap. "She said she'd only sleep if I held her," Jessica whispered. "But I had to finish this report for tomorrow." Michael smiled and gently picked up Emma. "I'll put her to bed." When he returned, Jessica was still studying but looked exhausted. "Jessica, you need to rest." "I'm fine, just a little longer." Michael sat beside her. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you regret it? Coming back, giving up a simpler life?" Jessica stopped writing and looked at him. "Never. Why do you ask?" "Because sometimes I feel selfish. You could be dating someone your age, building your own family." "Michael," Jessica interrupted, placing her hand over his. "I already have a family. I have Emma, my parents, my sister, and I have you." Michael's heart raced. "Jessica, I know it might sound strange, but when I'm here taking care of Emma, watching you come home from work, helping with homework, it feels like this is how it should always be." Michael cupped her face in his hands. "Are you sure? Because if we start this, there's no going back. Emma already loves you like a mother. If something goes wrong between us, nothing will go wrong, Jessica said, moving closer, because this isn't some whim or teenage crush. It's real love, the kind that lasts forever. Michael kissed her then softly, sealing a silent promise. When they pulled apart, Emma was standing in the doorway grinning. "Daddy kissed Jess," she said, clapping her hands. Michael and Jessica laughed, their faces red. "How long have you been there, you little rascal?" Michael asked. "The whole time. I pretended I was asleep." Jessica scooped Emma into her arms. "And what did you think about Daddy kissing Jess?" "I thought it took too long to happen," said Emma, making the two laugh again. 6 months later, during Jessica's officer graduation, Emma gave a speech that moved the entire base. "My name is Emma Johnson, and today I want to talk about families," said the 6-year-old girl into the microphone. "Some people are born into a family, others build a family, and some, like me, are given a family as a gift." The audience fell silent, touched by the child's maturity. "When my mommy in heaven left, I thought I'd never have a mother again. But the heart is like a house. There's always room for more love. Jess taught me that." Jessica, in the audience, was openly crying. "Jess didn't come to replace my mommy in heaven. She came to be my mommy on earth. And today, when she receives her officer's rank, I'll be so proud to say my mother is a hero." The crowd rose in applause. Michael was visibly emotional, and even Colonel Catherine, who was present, discreetly wiped away a tear. After the ceremony, Michael knelt before Jessica in the same spot where Emma had first chosen her. "Lieutenant Jessica Williams," he said, pulling a small box from his pocket. "Will you marry me?" Emma appeared beside her father, holding a bouquet of flowers. "And will you be my mommy forever, too?" she asked. Jessica looked at them, the two people who had completely changed her life, and said yes to both questions. The wedding took place 3 months later in a simple ceremony at the base chapel. Emma was the flower girl, wearing a pink dress she had picked herself. Jessica's parents were there, her mother now fully recovered from cancer. Olivia, Jessica's sister, was in charge of the rings. Colonel Catherine, who had become an unlikely ally over the months, served as the couple's matron of honor. She had learned to admire the genuine love between Michael and Jessica, and found peace knowing Emma would be raised by people who loved her unconditionally. During the ceremony, Emma surprised everyone by asking to speak. "I want to make a wish to the universe," she said. "That every child who's lost their parents finds someone like Jess, someone who doesn't try to replace what's gone, but creates something new and beautiful." Not a single eye in the chapel was dry. After their honeymoon in Aspen, Emma's first trip since losing her birth mother, the family settled into a larger house on the military base. It was a home full of laughter, music, and love. Jessica balanced her military career and motherhood flawlessly. Emma grew into a confident, talkative child, always proud to introduce her officer mom to friends. Olivia visited often and had become like an older sister to Emma. A year after the wedding, during a family dinner, Emma made an announcement. "Daddy, Jess, I have something important to say." "What is it, sweetheart?" Michael asked. "I drew our family at school today, but this time I drew 4 people." Jessica and Michael exchanged confused looks. "4 people?" Jessica asked. "Yeah, you, Daddy, me, and the baby that's coming." Michael nearly choked on his water. "Baby? Emma, where did you get that idea?" "From Jess's tummy. It's growing a little. And today she felt sick at breakfast, just like Mrs. Williams did when she was pregnant." Jessica instinctively placed a hand on her stomach. It was true she'd been feeling off lately. "Emma, maybe you're imagining things," Michael said, though his questioning gaze stayed on Jessica. "I might be pregnant," Jessica whispered. "My period's 2 weeks late." The silence that followed was broken by Emma's excited voice. "I knew it! I'm gonna have a little brother or sister." 2 weeks later, the test confirmed it. Jessica was 5 weeks pregnant. The news spread through the base like wildfire, and the entire military community rallied to support the family that had become a symbol of hope for everyone. During the pregnancy, Emma became the most protective sister in the world. She talked to her mother's belly every night, sang the songs Jessica had sung to her in the hospital, and constantly drew pictures of their complete family. "Do you think the baby will love me?" Emma asked one night as Jessica tucked her into bed. "I'm sure they will," Jessica replied. "You're going to be the best big sister in the world." "What if the baby wants a different mom like I did?" The question caught Jessica off guard with its depth. "Emma, you didn't want a different mom. You wanted a mom you already knew and loved. The baby will be born knowing and loving me, just like they'll be born knowing and loving you." "How do you know?" "Because love isn't just about blood or a belly. Love is about choice. I chose to be your mom, and you chose to accept me as your mom. The baby will be born knowing they're loved by all of us." The baby arrived on a sunny December morning, a perfect little girl whom Emma immediately dubbed my baby sister. Michael cried as he held his daughter for the first time, not just from the joy of being a father again, but from gratitude for sharing this moment with the woman who had brought light back into his life. Emma slipped into the role of big sister with astonishing ease. She helped with diaper changes, sang the baby to sleep, and insisted on holding her tiny hand during feedings. "She looks just like you, Jess," Emma would say, studying her sister. "But she has Daddy's nose." Little Charlotte, the name Emma chose in honor of her paternal grandmother, became the center of attention not just for the family, but for the entire base. It was common to see tough, seasoned soldiers melting at the sight of the baby's gummy smile. 2 years later, on a quiet evening at home, the family gathered in the living room. Charlotte played on the rug, Emma did her homework, and Jessica nursed their third child, a boy named Ethan. Michael watched the scene, unable to believe how his life had transformed. "What are you thinking about?" Jessica asked, noticing his distant gaze. "I'm thinking how one seemingly simple decision can change everything. If I hadn't let Emma choose, she would have found me another way," Jessica said with certainty. "Some people are meant to find each other. We're one of those families." Emma looked up from her notebook. "Can I tell you a secret?" "Of course, sweetheart." "That day when Daddy asked me to choose, I already knew who I was going to pick before I even saw the official aunties." Michael and Jessica exchanged surprised glances. "What do you mean?" Michael asked. "Because I dreamed about Jess the night before. I dreamed she was singing to me and saying everything would be okay. When I saw her in the hallway, I recognized the voice from my dream." A shiver ran down Jessica's spine. "What else happened in the dream?" "The mommy from heaven was there too. She told Jess to take good care of me and that I needed to teach her how to be an earth mommy. Then she told me I could stop missing her because now I had 2 mums, one in heaven and one on earth." The silence that followed was thick with emotion. Michael discreetly wiped away a tear, and Jessica took a deep breath to steady herself. "You never told us that before," Michael said, "because I wanted to be sure it wasn't just a dream. But now I know it wasn't. The mommy from heaven really did choose Jess for me." Charlotte crawled over to Emma and pulled herself up using her sister's leg. Emma automatically scooped her into her arms. "And now she chose you to be Helena and Ethan's sister too," said Emma, kissing her little sister's forehead. "We're a family of the chosen ones." Years passed, and the Johnson-Williams family became a legend on the military base. Emma grew into a determined young woman, eager to pursue a military career like her parents. Helena showed a talent for music, always singing the same songs her mother had sung to her. Ethan was the family clown, always making everyone laugh. Jessica excelled in her career, rising quickly through the ranks and becoming a role model for women's leadership in the army. Michael continued climbing the hierarchy, but always put his family first. Colonel Catherine, now General Catherine, found love at 58 with a widower her age, who had lost his wife around the same time Michael lost Sarah. She became a second grandmother to the children and one of Jessica's closest friends. On a special day, 15 years after Emma had first chosen Jessica, the family gathered in the same hallway where it all began. Emma, now a 20-year-old about to graduate from the military academy, 13-year-old Helena, and 12-year-old Ethan posed for a photo in the exact spot where Jessica had been pushing the cleaning cart that fateful day. "Did you know this is the most famous hallway on base?" Emma said, laughing. "Some new recruits make pilgrimages here thinking they'll find true love." "Who knows, maybe they will," Jessica said, hugging her husband. "Places where love won tend to attract more love." "Mom, Tell the story again, how you and Dad met, Helena begged. Again? You already know it by heart. But I love the part where Emma points at you and says, "That's my mom," Ethan chimed in. I never said that, Emma protested, laughing. I just pointed and waited for you to figure it out. Michael looked at his family, his wife, their 3 children, his in-laws who had become an integral part of his life, and felt his heart overflow with gratitude. "You know what I've learned from all this?" he said. "What?" they all asked in unison. "That family isn't about blood or last names. Family is about choosing to stay even when it's hard. It's about love that grows, that multiplies, that heals old wounds and creates new hope." "How sweet, Dad," Emma teased. "You're getting sentimental in your old age." "Sentimental and happy," Michael corrected. "Sentimental and incredibly happy." That night, after the children were asleep, Michael and Jessica sat on their porch watching the stars. "Any regrets?" Michael asked, repeating the question he'd asked years before. "Just one," Jessica said. Michael looked at her concerned. "What?" "That it took me so long to find you. 15 extra years of happiness wouldn't have hurt." Michael laughed and pulled her closer. "For me, it was perfect timing. Emma needed a mother, but I needed to learn to love again. If you'd shown up sooner, maybe I wouldn't have been ready to recognize the gift the universe was giving me. And now I know every tear, every hardship, every sleepless night was worth it to get here." They sat in silence for a few minutes, just enjoying each other's company. "Michael?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For letting Emma choose, for believing in the heart of a 5-year-old, for giving me the chance to be a mother without having given birth. Thank you for not giving up, for coming back when it would have been easier to stay away, for building this amazing family with me." Just then, Emma appeared on the porch, now a young woman but still with the same mischievous smile from childhood. "Are you two still out here being mushy?" "Always," Michael said. "And you? Shouldn't you be asleep?" "Couldn't sleep. I was thinking about something." "About what?" asked Jessica. Emma sat on the step beside her parents. "I was thinking that when I have kids, I'll teach them to choose with their hearts, just like you taught me. Because sometimes the right person is right in front of us, but we're looking in the wrong place." Jessica and Michael exchanged a glance over their daughter's head, smiling. "That's an important lesson," Michael agreed. "The most important," said Emma, "because if I hadn't chosen with my heart that day, Charlotte and Ethan wouldn't exist, you and Mom wouldn't be together, and I'd still be sad and alone." "You were never alone," Jessica said, running her hand through her daughter's hair. "Even when you felt alone, love was all around you. You just had to be ready to see it. And now, are you ready to teach me how to be a responsible adult?" Michael laughed. "Emma, you're already more responsible than most adults out there. What you need is to learn how to be young, to enjoy life, to have fun. Hard to be young when you have 2 younger siblings to take care of and parents who are impossible role models to live up to." "Don't try to live up to us," Jessica said. "Try to be yourself, the best version of yourself." Emma stood up and kissed both their foreheads. "Good night, most perfect parents in the world." "Good night, most perfect daughter in the world," they replied in unison. When Emma went inside, Michael and Jessica stayed on the porch a little longer. "You know what amazes me the most?" Michael said. "What?" "How a decision made in desperation turned into the best decision of my life." "It wasn't desperation," Jessica corrected. "It was love. It was... You loved Emma so much you were willing to let her choose her own happiness. And love always finds a way. Always? Always. Sometimes it takes time, sometimes it hurts, sometimes it seems impossible. But in the end, love always finds a way." The end. Now tell me, dear listener, what did you think of this story of love and family? Do you believe Emma made the right decision in that hallway? Leave in the comments which part moved you the most, and if you've ever been in a situation where your heart guided you to the right choice. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories like this one. Your company means so much to us.